We are here. We're glad we are here. Good morning to you. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Yes? Co-creation at its best, at its best, at its best, at its very best. You see, you have dragged your physical bodies here. We have not. You're knowing what you're wanting? Pretty much. Do you think that your desires and your expectations are in close proximity? Because if they are, you're feeling pretty frisky. And if they're not, you're feeling pretty ornery. In other words, when you want something and you're not a vibrational match to it, it doesn't feel very good, does it? And yet life keeps demanding of you, really, new desires. And so it's quite a lot to keep up with, isn't it? Life continuing to produce a new intention within you, and then your work is to find vibrational equivalency to that new desire, even though that new desire was hatched out of something going wrong often. So there you stand in the middle of something going wrong, hatching a new desire that's summoning all of the cooperative components, you being the most important, significant cooperative component to your own desire. And sometimes you're stubbornly all wrapped up in the justification about why you want that. I need it. Ooh, that neediness, that's not a good feeling place to be, is it? Because it is the opposite vibrational frequency of the having of it, of the being of it, of the doing of it. You can't yearn for something and be in the moment of your yearning, letting it come towards you. In your yearning, in the moment of your yearning, in the moments of your yearning, in the obsessions with your yearning, you're not moving toward what you want. And so it doesn't feel good, and then it feels like somebody else should do something, doesn't it? The conditions should change. And if it would, you know you'd feel better, but it won't. That sucks. So it doesn't feel like the universe is cooperating with you, but it is, because it's consistent. It's not squirrely. It's not messing with your mind. It's consistent. It's consistent, like laws of the universe that you understand, like the law of gravity or the law of the speed of light. Those things that are so consistent any which way you look at it, eternally, generation after generation, those stable, solid things that you've come not to question because those before you gave up the questioning long ago. Whew. When you accept these laws of the universe, this point of attraction that you are radiating at all times, that you get what you think about. But we want to have some conversation today about what that thinking really means. What is thinking? Is it projecting a thought? Is it receiving a thought? Is it a vibration? It's all of those things, but you want to get control of your point of attraction. We know you do, otherwise you have no control of what comes to you. And it doesn't feel very good, does it? To have things happening and not understand the relationship between what you're doing and why it's coming. When you think it's about what others are doing, you're in a place of no win. It can't get better when you believe that others have to change or others have to do something in order for you to feel better. That leads to being lost in your world. That leads to deep depression and absolute despondency, and eventually no friends at all. You just can't blame it on the government or your neighbor or your lover or your enemy. It just can't be about what somebody else is doing, because your point of attraction is not about what somebody else is doing. Your point of attraction is about what you are doing, period. It's about what you are doing. So we think it's a good idea to figure out what you're doing, not so much why you're doing what you're doing. If we get too focused on why am I doing this, then you're doing it more. So there's just this wonderful, inevitable, you could call it a universal process, you could call it long-standing effects of the law of attraction upon the worlds as they evolve, you could call it that. You could call it your eternal, non-physical, source-based intentionality for being physical. You could call it how you, in your physicalness, fit into the big picture of all that isness. This is big stuff that we're talking about, because you are important to all that is. You are an extension of source energy focused here in this physical time and place. And as this extension of source energy, you're doing exactly what you intended to do. You're out on the leading edge, leading and bleeding. Mostly leading, mostly bleeding. Mostly leading, well, depends on the day. You're out on the leading edge, experiencing the variety to the capacity of your ability to observe it. You're observing it through your physical senses. You're observing it through your emotional senses. So as you are observing your environment, whether you know it or not, you are coming to personal conclusions about what you think would be better, because you are born with a perspective from self that dominates your existence eternally. Your self perspective, some call it selfishness, do it if you want to. Your perspective from self matters, because it is from that perspective of self that you launch your rockets. It's from that perspective of self that you are attracting to you. We just want to explain to you that you are more than the self you think you are in this body. There's another part of you that remains non-physically focused as you focus here. Sometimes humans refer to that as your soul. We like to call it your inner being or your source. So there's this non-physical part of you from which you came, who remains non-physically focused and stands always aware of you, always aware of you. Not for a moment not aware of you, always aware of you, and always looking at you and your life experience and everything you are and everything you want with non-resistant focus. Meaning, never judgment, never blame, never worry, always knowing that you are a powerful creator and that you are blessed and worthy. Always expecting you to have motion forward toward the never-ending evolution that you are about. Did any of that make sense to you? You came into this physical body and you are stirring it up with others, and out of that you are coming to things that you want, and those desires radiate from you whether you put words to them or not. In fact, it's usually when you begin putting words to them that you start getting in your own way, because you say words you don't mean. And every time you say I'm happy when you're not, you stir up the not part of it. Every time you say I'm prosperous when you don't feel prosperous, you stir up the non-prosperous part of it, because you just can't focus on a subject without activating how you really feel about it. So we we powerfully intend to help you to be less verbal and more sensitive to your emotions. Talk less, talk a lot less, talk really a lot less. And reach for that quiet space where your natural resources will help your vibration to rise to your perfect frequency of what you want. In other words, what you really want to do is find your own non-resisted thought. I want money, but I don't have enough. That's a thought that is full of resistance. I want a relationship, but all the good ones are taken. That's a really resistant thought. I want my relationship to improve, but my partner is a ditz. That's a really resistant thought. And often you argue, but it's true. And we say, true meaning your perception of reality is what holds you back from the improvement that you seek. Being so determined to be right and accurate and truthful about the predicament or the incompletion that you feel you are standing in is what prevents you from moving moment by moment and pleasure by pleasure to the more satisfying place of the greater fulfillment of your intentions. You just can't focus on what is without that being the dominant vibration that you're offering. And here's the distinction that we really want you to hear in this. When you ask for more money, your inner being focuses upon the more money that you are asking for with non-resisted thought. Now, this is where the law of attraction becomes a very important conversation, because the law of attraction, which just means whatever you're focused upon is growing, that which is like unto itself is drawn, is the definition of the law, this law of attraction. So as your inner being is focused upon your prosperity, since your inner being focuses upon your prosperity and nothing less, in other words, utterly non-resisted thought, the power of that point of attraction is indescribable. Indescribable. Millions of times more powerful than a resisted thought. So here's your inner being advocating on your behalf to all of the universe and summoning on your behalf this new piece that you've just put into the equation, along with the other things that you put there already. There are a lot of ingredients that you've been tossing in there to this vibrational reality. We call it the vortex because we want you to accept its realness. Your inner being stands focused upon that, and because of the non-resistant nature of your inner being's thought, focused thought about you and what you want, all cooperative components are gathered there, and the reality, the realness of your reality is huge. The question is, what are you doing, human lovely, in relationship to that? You still complaining about where things are? Be like going on a road trip, and as soon as you get on the road, beginning to complain that you're not there yet. The whole way, it's 1,000 miles. The whole way, you just complain that you're not there yet. Well, that's what a lot of you are doing about your life, about the money, about the lovers, about the this and the that. So if you stand, the you part that you think is you are much more than you think you are. But when this part that you are focused upon with your personality and your mind, when you're focused upon something other than what you've asked for, then you are resistant to all of this. Now, if this was a puny little thing, if you sort of didn't like that, so you sort of wanted that, so there's just this little wisp of attraction, then you could complain all day long and you wouldn't even feel it. If you don't want it and you're focused against it, it doesn't matter. There's none of that going on though, because you want it. And when you want it and you're focused against it, when you've got resistant thought in opposition to what you want, that feels terrible. And then you need therapy and drugs, lobotomies. You need relief from your own sloppy thinking. You don't have to be a sloppy thinker. You're just used to it. It's just easier.